We're live with another episode of BS Busters. Thank you for joining us. It's me, Mr. Red Fox, and I'm joined by my the usual suspect. Sir, go ahead, introduce yourself.
Um, it's Kanashi Bao. Glad to be here on another one of these BS Busters.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been about 2 weeks, but shit. I was tired last week. I had stuff going on. Um,
Yeah, it was the same thing. That's why I didn't have my cast. Last week I was tired and kind of sore from working out.
uh,
Or at least I pulled something when working out. So
yeah, that happens sometimes. I don't really go to the gym like that, like lift and stuff, but I made the mistake of thinking I'm a young man. I can go back here and I can go in the back of my bar and lift up heavy ass boxes of things and kegs. I don't need to stretch or do proper lifting techniques. Um, and I've been like in serious amounts of pain. Um, and like had to like lay out and just not do anything for the next few days. Just stay home and like just sit and stay in bed, get up, go to the bathroom, lay back down, don't eat anything for 2 or 3 days. Not a fun
yeah,
experience, but
yeah. That's why you always, no matter how strong you think you are, you always want to lift heavy things with your feet.
yeah.
You know,
Or they say lift with your legs.
or lift with your legs. Yeah,
Lift with your legs. Don't lift with your stomach because that's how you get a hernia.
yeah. Uh,
But anyway, so let's get to what we'll be covering on tonight's cast. The topics we'll be covering are the continuous firings in gaming. We've seen that Embracer Group has sold 2K. Gearbox to 2K.
yeah.
So, or is it Take Two? I can't remember. Either Take Two or 2K. And as soon as they did that, Gearbox started firing a whole bunch of fucking people. So that's great, I guess. And other people getting fired. Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. The Thousand Year Door has sold out physically, the physical versions. Um, which I would just say this. I don't have any hard numbers, but I do believe this game will outsell that piece of shit Origami King we get. What a new ideal new installment in that series would be. An impromptu review of the latest Monsterverse movie. I saw it. I'm just going to give my take on it. Just a general take. I'm not going to go into spoilers. And we'll do unpopular opinions and free topic, or should I say free topic then unpopular opinions. So before we go any further, sir, I guess we'll talk about the continuous firing. So, um, it seems like there's been no let up in the amount of just people getting fired in gaming. And I think that the Larian Studios CEO and president said it best. At this point, this isn't about them saving money or they can't afford it. This is about making the companies look good to shareholders.
Exactly. And yeah, that's what's going on. There was this big boom cycle during 2020 during the lockdowns. Nobody had anything else to do but sit on their ass all day and play video games because you couldn't go anywhere and do shit. And so they made a killing. They also were able to hire people because, uh, a lot of these tech jobs were still allowed to function.
Yeah.
So they were hiring people, and then to their investors, it looked amazing. There was exponential growth. You know,
Um,
but the thing is,
I'm gonna say one thing. Uh, I think that's only like maybe 30-40% of the story. Because like if you're programming or writing code, you don't need to be in an office to do that.
yeah, I mean, they were
Like
probably hiring
there's
people.
yeah,
They were probably hiring people out at home
yeah,
work.
there's like if you are coding or designing a game, I don't need to be in an office to make a level.
But they're still, they're still on the payroll, and
Yeah,
they're still, that's still
yeah.
another employee.
I'm just saying, like when I hear people say that, oh man, like these companies, the excuse that they used was we hired too many people. Bullshit. B- bullshit.
I'm not saying
Because
they hired. I'm not saying they hired too many people. I'm just
no, I'm
saying.
saying that's the excuse they use. I'm not saying that.
Um,
The excuse they use when they fire these people is that we have our payroll is too big. No, no, you guys want to make the bottom line of your company look like it's healthier than it really is.
yeah. So what they're doing is they're dumping a bunch of people, just throwing up a bunch of people. In the next few years, they'll slowly start hiring again to create that illusion of growth. Because, the investors don't care about the specifics. They just want to know how these companies are going to make them money, which is, if you're if you put, $250,000 in EA, you want to see a return on that investment. You want to see a
Yeah,
nice return on that
yeah,
investment.
yeah. From a business standpoint, I totally want to see, but I mean, also the thing is that all this shit is just short term. They're looking at what the
Yeah.
next quarter is going to
Yeah.
look like. They don't seem to realize that once they have to ramp up making games, they're gonna have to hire more people any goddamn way. who
Yeah.
People who they're gonna have to train and spend time to get up to speed. When they had people who were experienced that they fired to make their books look good for one or two financial quarters.
Yeah, that's
It's the
millions.
most asinine, stupid shit I've ever seen before in my life.
That's millions of dollars you're flushing down the toilet to train people to work your systems.
Yeah,
It's like,
and
yeah,
people like, oh, I can't believe this. Why did they? Oh, it's just, how do you say that? It's quite easy, really. I'm looking at this from a business and a consumer standpoint. The business standpoint, I understand, okay, but they're like you cannot run a successful business and only think a year in advance, 2 years in advance. If you want to, this is just business. This is life. Once once you get a once you get a certain age, you have to start thinking 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years in advance. You can't live for just tomorrow. You got to live for 5 years, 10 years in advance. What's my plan? Where do I
mm,
see myself in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years?
yeah.
And these people don't have any long-term thinking. Everything is just, you know,
Another problem that they obviously rely on, a couple IPs to
yeah,
to get them through. So
they don't diversify their portfolios.
because a lot of those big, because a lot of companies like to try to go in the black around the holidays specifically. I mean, they have been getting better, releasing bigger stuff throughout the year, but you know, around around the holiday season, around late October, November, December, everybody's trying to hit high black marks when it comes to their profit margins. But I find it funny that they only do it with one or two games.
Yeah, yeah, they really don't. They don't spread it out. It's all basically the same thing over and over again. Activision, Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, now Overwatch, and they're sitting on mountains and mountains of IPs that they could be reviving with a limited budget, like maybe like 10 or 15 million. Like if you take a small team of maybe like 10, 15 people and you make a 10, 15 million dollar game and it sells like 6, 7 million copies at $50 a pop or $30 a pop, you still made 30. No, see, let me get my calculator out because I don't want to get the math incorrect. Let's see, 15 million budget, and you sell it for, let's say, $40, and you sell 7 million. That's $280 million minus, let's say, 15 million. That's two. That's 2,065,000. That's 2,065,000. That's 2,065,000. That's $265 million. Now, if you've got like eight, like six, seven games that come out like that over the course of 2 or 3 years, you've made billions of dollars right there.
Yeah.
At the cost of maybe 100 million for like the individual little teams of 10 to 15 million. I don't know why everything has to be this big, huge, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And part of it's because with each generation, people are expecting a graphical leap. Now, the graphical leap has become somewhat negligible and has has started to become borderline superfluous because games still perform like shit. A lot of these games still aren't performing as advertised. So,
I
but
mean,
people expect the next big shiny looking thing,
I
and
think
they
people
look forward to that every year.
I think people need to readjust their
Realize something.
expectations. Their expectations.
You,
Cuz we're not going to get a leap like that ever again. Like the
yeah, it's
leap
not.
between the third gen and the fourth gen, and the fourth gen and the fifth gen, and the fifth gen to the sixth gen. You could see you were getting diminishing returns from the fifth to the sixth gen. Because there were games that came out for the PS2 first gen that looked marginally better than some of the later gen PS1 games.
Dark Cloud looked like an N64 game
Eh,
without
I'm not gonna go that far. It didn't look like an N64 game, but it didn't like the graphics weren't that much more advanced than some of the later generation PS1 games.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, I can see where it got better, but I'm not like, oh my god, this is amazing. I don't know why people don't understand that, but anyway, so what was I saying? Oh yes. So I think that people need to understand these things and stop being so easily, like people need to readjust what they think is actually going on with these games these days because and what they should be expecting. Like we hit a wall with the seventh gen, and I'm not seeing shit look that much better from eighth to ninth gen. As a matter of fact, I'm seeing performance wise, these games are getting worse.
Yeah. It's that was always astounding how back during the sixth gen you had a lot of games that ran at 60 FPS.
Not
Definitely,
now.
you know,
Not now.
yeah, not now. Yeah,
Not now. Even with these super powerful mega consoles, which are really just they're highly specialized gaming PCs. The PS5 and the Xbox Series X. They're just like the previous generation consoles were from those two companies were highly specialized gaming PCs. Have you ever heard? You have to have a fucking performance mode on your systems, and you're still not getting solid 60 frames per second.
no, not typically. And you get in the game looks kind of blurry at times. It depends on the game, but sometimes the textures are blurrier. It's like I just wondered what the heck happened. But I think what happened was people they they wanted they advertised the spectacle, you know, glit glitz and glamour or no substance.
All right. Anyway, anything else you want to add before we move on to the next topic?
Nah.
All right. Speaking of IPs, companies that tend to focus on a few IPs, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door has been selling out physically. The pre-orders. Um,
Yeah.
and I only have one thing to say. I mean, the Thousand Year Door, in my opinion, is the best of the Paper Mario series. It's the height of that franchise. The first Paper Mario is a basic bitch game. The only reason that fans of that franchise think it's great is because it was only one of 4 RPGs on the N64. But if you put it amongst its contemporaries of the fifth gen, it's really nothing special. I hate to break that to fans of that franchise, but Thousand Year Door is legit like one of the best RPGs of the sixth gen. Like I would put it
Yeah.
up there with your Final Fantasy tens and 12s and your
Yeah.
Skies of Arcadias. Like it's legit that good of an RPG.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and we had some good RPGs in the sixth gen. Don't get it twisted. Final Fantasy started dropping off during the sixth gen, with your Final Fantasy 12, Final Fantasy 10, 10 2. But we had the Tales series was starting to ramp up again with Symphonia, um, and all the numerous Tales games that came out during the sixth gen. And Suikoden had jumped to the sixth gen thing. Matter of fact, the only real RPG series that just shat the bed completely during the sixth gen was Breath of Fire.
Yeah.
But you can't have everything. So basically, what are your thoughts on people buying the shit out of the physical version of this game?
I mean, people have been talking about this game for years, and they've been wanting a successor to Thousand Year Door for ages. And
Yeah,
because of emulation, um, I think it more people found out about it because the only place I ever found out about Thousand Year Door was Nintendo Power. Nobody else was talking about it. I don't even really remember seeing commercials for that game. Like doesn't seem like it was very well advertised. But with emulation, with you know secondhand market, um, mainly emulation, there there's a lot of people that found out about this game that otherwise didn't know about it, or people were too back in the day during the GameCube. They were too embarrassed to. They were too embarrassed at the purple lunchbox.
yeah. Even though, like, if you really think about just from a technological standpoint of how, like, the GameCube, pound for pound, was a very powerful little console.
Yeah,
Like, it had a lot of 60 frames per second games.
yeah.
I mean, they were 40i, but they were solid 60 frames per second.
Yep.
Something that we don't have today on a lot of these fucking consoles. They're like, oh yeah, the HD is it 60 frames solid? No, then get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
But Paper Mario was Thousand Year Door. That game is legit. Really, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing how good that game is. It's got an amazing. Um, it's just one of those games. It's just amazing. It's an amazing title.
Yeah.
It's got amazing music. It's got amazing characters.
Yeah. The characters are really well written.
The side
Um,
characters are good.
yeah. Yeah. It's. We just haven't seen anything like it since
No,
then.
no, we haven't. Like they tried and they keep on shitting the bed on it. Like
Yeah.
Super. Here's what I'll say: the closest we got was Super Paper Mario. Super
Yeah,
Paper Mario was really good, but
but it wasn't the true successor to A Thousand Year Door that we were, what we were hoping for.
I mean, here's what I'll say about Super Paper Mario. Super Paper Mario, here's where Super Paper Mario um, was interesting. The story in Super Paper Mario, like Thousand Year Door story, is dark, but they leaven it out with humor. Super Paper Mario's story is really fucking dark. And the
Yeah,
humor is a little absurd. It's not as like the humor doesn't hit as well as Thousand Year Door.
yeah.
So, you know, so people just it just kind of it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, interesting characters, even the useless characters. Like it's a world that has so much character to it that you just don't get that from other games. But whatever. So,
What else beyond?
I mean, do you have any thoughts on it?
Oh no, I don't have any more thoughts except for hopefully this sends a message.
That people want good cars?
Good cars. That people want good games, or that people want good Paper Mario games.
I can understand that. People want a Paper Mario game that freaking has,
Actually, has characters worth following.
yeah, interesting characters, party members, RPG mechanics, you know, all that type of fun shit. Which is what I thought they were doing in Thousand Year Door. I mean, in Origami King. I was like, oh, this is some interesting stuff. And the moment where I knew that game was in trouble was there's a moment in the game where you have to go to the desert and you've got this Babam who's your sidekick and he blows himself up in order to open this thing. And I'm like, oh, he did. I'm like, so that's what you guys are doing, huh? Like
Yeah.
no unique characters in the game. I'm like, oh no, this is bad. But you have any thoughts on it?
Nah.
All right. Moving on to the next topic. So, with Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door physical version selling out like a madman, like they're canceling pre-orders that they can't fill on Amazon. That leads to, what would you like to see in a new installment in the series? Because Origami King, just speaking for me personally, Origami King didn't do shit for me. I was like, I'm unenthused with this franchise at this point.
Um, what can they do with it? I'm not entirely sure. Obviously, other than the stuff that we mentioned, you
Hmm.
know, bring characters, make all the characters unique again. Make the Koopas and stuff unique. Um, make create new side characters, uh, like they did in the other games. Like the first two games, where they weren't necessarily all based off the Mario universe, but just di- completely different races of people. Um, that's the thing I liked about Thousand Year Door. Like every various Mario creature is treated as a race more than just you know the, the faceless enemy that you just have to beat. So there are good Koopas, there are bad Koopas, there are good Goombas, there are bad Goombas. Just obviously return to that. Um, Maybe lean into the paper aspect a little bit even more with using transformations in battle, uh, as well as navigation.
So what
Uh,
you so essentially what it sounds like to me is that you want a Thousand Year Door too, essentially, just
yeah,
more,
yeah,
more
just
Thousand
more.
Year Door. Like maybe
Yeah,
instead of it being an island, it's like a series of islands,
yeah,
or like a landmass with islands and an ocean and all that shit.
yeah,
Well, I gotta agree with you. I would say keep a complex battle system like they have in, because in a Thousand Year Door, if you have played it before and you know how to do the time to attacks, the perfect counter, which is what you counter with the B button instead of the A button, you'll basically counterattack your enemies on top of
yeah,
doing no damage. So
yeah,
that first fight against Grotus, not Grotus, what's his name? Grotus's right hand man. Um, Forgot his name, Beeb, something like that, Beezer, something like that. If you perfectly counter his ass, you can basically take him out in half the time. Every time he attacks you. And I like that the first game rewarded you for being skilled.
yeah.
But anyway, that's what I would like to see. Will this happen? Probably not, because um, you know, we live in a world where people just like to be dicks. And Nintendo seems that the people who run who are executive producers on these games are always trying to like troll people instead of just make a good fucking game.
Yeah.
You know, like why we haven't gotten a good uh, that's why we haven't gotten a good fucking a good single player mode in a Smash Brothers game in 3 iterations now. No, 2. Well, technically 3, because the one on the 3DS wasn't great. The one on the Wii U, the single player was trash. The one on the Switch, the single player is trash. I don't know what it is. It's like they don't want to make a good single player anymore. Like, nah, we can't do that. Anyway, let's keep it moving. Um, I guess we can move on to the next topic, which is my impromptu review of the latest MonsterVerse movie, uh, Godzilla and King Kong, Godzilla and Kong, New Empire. I actually liked it. It was pretty good. You know, it's not a great movie. You know, you're not gonna be like, you know, if you watch the Godzilla -1 and you're like, oh, this is making a statement about nuclear war and all this shit and the horrors of escalation. No, no, man. Godzilla and Kong is basically just like, you know, like, remember when you were a kid, you had your toys, they just made them fight.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Oh.
They're just making the toys
Yeah.
fight each other. Now, if you like seeing these toys fight, then it's great. It's like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
If you don't, well, go watch something else. You know. Matter of fact, I'll probably watch it again sometime in the near future because it was kind of fun.
I mean, sure. I mean, at least you had fun watching it.
I did. It was fun. But yeah, yeah. Anyway, any questions or just keep it moving to the next one?
Um, how long was the movie?
A little under 2 hours,
Under two
but
hours.
it
Okay.
goes by pretty quick. It's not one of those. It's not one of those movies where it's like it's 2 hours and it feels like it's longer.
Yeah.
Like I've been in some movies where I'm like I'm looking at my watch. I'm like shit. It's only been 30 minutes.
Yeah. Cloud Atlas was that movie.
Yeah, yeah. I saw the trailer for that and I'm like I am not interested in this at all.
I saw that movie with a couple of friends when I was in college, and it was awful.
Yeah,
It spent like I was like, is this movie over yet?
yeah.
It's like, no, I got another hour of this shit.
Yeah, you know what the saddest thing about that movie though is that you've got Tom Hanks and Halle Berry in that movie, and they both have won Oscars. These are good actors. They're great
Yeah.
actors, but it just proves that if you have a shitty idea for a movie, it's never gonna get any better.
No, good actors can't save a bad script.
You know. No, no, there is one good actor who can save a shit movie. Sam Jackson. You can put Sam Jackson in a shitty movie and you can watch it if Sam Jackson is acting because it's like Sam Jackson is such a good actor that you're just like I'm just enjoying this man in this terrible movie.
Snakes on a Plane.
Yeah, Snakes on the Plane is not a good movie, but Sam Jackson is so good that you're like I don't care that he's in this shitty movie. And there's other movies like Sam Jackson hit a point in his career for like 2 or 3, maybe 4 years where he was doing these movies that should have went direct to video, but they went to movie
Yeah.
theaters anyway. But it's like you kind of were like, Sam Jackson's good in it. But, Halle Berry and Tom Hanks aren't that good. And I like
Mm-hmm.
Halle Berry. She's one of my favorite actresses. Plus, she's still fine as hell. But I was like, oh, nah, bruh. Nah, bruh. Nope.
Could have been an interesting story if they did a better job tying in the past lives. They did such a shitty job of trying to tie in the whole past lives thing.
Yeah.
That was just awful.
Wasn't Cloud Atlas directed by the Wachowskis?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think here. Let me look it up because if it was the Wachowskis, then yeah, Cloud Atlas. Because I think they also did Jupiter Ascending. That piece of shit. Yeah, it was directed by the Wachowskis. I knew it. I knew it. I was like, oh shit. No wonder this got money. Because the
One hit wonder.
Wachowskis. What?
They're like a one hit wonder band. You know,
No, the
you only get
Wachowskis have made better shit. It's just not this. You know what I mean? I've seen good stuff the Wachowskis have made beyond the Matrix, the Matrix One, but it's just the problem with the Wachowskis is that they're given too much freedom, and there's no one in there saying, "Hey, maybe you shouldn't do that."
Yeah.
It's like Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan is like sitting in a pup tent, and he's been smelling his own farts. He's been smelling his own farts for so long that he thinks his farts don't smell.
Yeah, that's the problem with a lot of successful directors. Is like when they're on their own, they just they they put out shit.
Yeah.
But when they have accountability, they put out some of the most world renowned films of all time.
I mean, like Ridley Scott. You want to know why we got those two ass-tastic alien films under Fox, under Ridley Scott, Prometheus, and what was the other one? Shit. Uh, Forgot. Because they were like, oh, we're just going to give you carte blanche, Ridley Scott, because you made the first. People forget that a lot of the shit that people like about Alien, the Alien franchise, it came out under James Cameron with Aliens. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. Like, because the first Alien movie is very much like a horror film, it's a slasher horror film. Um, that's why the tagline for that movie is "In space, no one can hear you scream," because it's going around murdering everyone on that crew. With the final girl being Ellen Ripley.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh. But, anyway. But he was given carte blanche, and that's how we got the shit from Prometheus. And what was that other film? Let me. There's where Wikipedia is our friend. Prometheus. And there was a sequel. Alien Covenant. That's what it was. Covenant. Prometheus and Covenant. Trash. Fucking trash.
Yeah, I haven't heard any good things about Prometheus. That's for sure.
They're terrible. They're all terrible. Because the thing is that what's his name? Ridley Scott is a cinematographer at heart. Like he started just choreographing how the shit should look. Uh, and later on he verged into directing shit. But the problem is that like if you want to tell a story with just the visuals, Ridley Scott is your guy. But if you're trying to like tell a cohesive story with a good script, that's not Ridley Scott's strength. So if you have something where you have to tell a good story, like you can't just be like, "Oh, some shit exploded." It's like you actually have to tell a story and have interesting characters and all that shit. He's not going to be able to do it because that's not his strength.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own strength, and that's not his strength.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it. We're not casting aspersions on anybody, but you know,
Yeah, I mean, it's got many strengths and weaknesses. Mm.
not every
There's a lot of
director, like Denis Villeneuve, the guy who did the two Dune movies. He readily said, "Look, I'm not good at dialogue. I'm good at visuals." And I'm like, I can tell, bitch, because I saw those movies and the dialogue was trash. Uh,
yeah.
but anyway, with that being said, I guess it's time to. So my overall thoughts for the latest Godzilla and Kong New Empire film. It's pretty. It's fun. It's if the Godzilla film that came out at the end of last year, which was Godzilla minus one, is this serious throwback to like 1954 Gojira, which was an anti-war, don't use nuclear weapons film. This film is a throwback to the 1970s Godzilla Godzilla Monster Slam Fest. You know, like
Yeah.
if you're in my age group, you'd be home from school, or you like I'd come home from daycare, and it'd be like a half day, and then my mom would fix me something to eat, then I'd sit in front of the TV and I'd watch Godzilla's Revenge on TBS. In the middle of the day, it's just Godzilla just beating the shit out of monsters and them fighting and shit. Or really, since this is more of a Kong movie, like King Kong's escape, where he basically has to fight a Mecha Kong. Shit like that. Anyway, if you just want to if you want to go to a movie theater and watch a fun movie, it's great. Um, so I guess with that being said, I guess it's time to move on to the second part of our to the next topic, which is unpopular opinion. Or sorry, free topic. So here we go. Free topic, sir.
Um. Apparently, that new Star Wars game is gonna be ass-tastic. Um.
What you think is gonna be bad?
Apparently, there's a lot of things going on with the pre-order stuff, and
Oh,
they're
you mean
trying.
it's like the base game is $70, or you can get the slightly more premium version for 110, and then the ultimate premium version for 130.
Yeah, this shit's gotta stop. It's like,
Yeah,
come on. I know you guys want to sell these games for like $100. I don't know. At some point, you know, at some point something's got to give. No, then Ubisoft has a special subscription where you can get access to all their games on a monthly basis. They're
UB
trying to, I
Plus,
guess,
UB Play.
yeah, yeah, they're trying to talk people into that. This game also, Tim Sweeney decided to be Ubisoft's bitch and pay him a lot of money so that he could have so the Epic Game Store would have exclusivity of that game. So you
What
can't get
for
it off
like
Steam.
6 months, a year?
Yeah, yeah. Just a lot of weird things going on with the game. Um, I don't know. I'm doing weird things with the character model. For people talking about that, but mainly it's the obviously the egregious way they're trying to sell this game to people.
That's a fair assessment. Um, the only thing I'm gonna say is that I'm not surprised because
I
it's
mean,
Ubisoft.
yeah, nobody should be surprised by this anymore.
You
That's
know,
why I'm surprised anybody thought. I was like, well, they're at it again. It's like that's
you know.
you gotta quit. You gotta quit buying this stuff. People
Well,
decide if people quit buying it, it's like, well, I guess we can't keep doing this anymore.
I mean, you have to remember, Ubisoft doesn't make good games anymore. Because think about it. What was the last truly good Ubisoft game that came out? Prince of Persia. But that's not a
Yeah,
AAA game.
Prince of Persia trilogy. Oh,
No,
you're
the
talking
new
about.
the new Prince of Persia game that came out, the one that's like a 2D Metroidvania.
Oh, I've heard good things about that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a but that's not a AAA game. What was the last truly good AAA? We spent a ton of money on this. It's amazing.
Prince of Persia trilogy, which is like 2030. This is like over 20 years ago.
So you know,
that and Rayman Revolution, which was the best version of Rayman 2. Uh, and Rayman 3 was okay.
I
Yeah,
I like
yeah. So
Rayman 3 actually. Hoodlum Havoc.
yeah,
I like that one
yeah,
because it went 3D and it felt like
yeah.
a you know it felt like
It
a
didn't,
French take on a Banjo Kazooie game.
it didn't take itself super seriously. It's kind of yeah. That game was fun. Um, but yeah, yeah. I mean, they weren't good since like the mid to early aughts
Because
or
Far
early to
Cry
mid
hasn't
aughts.
been good for a long time. Let's just get that out the way. Far Cry's been trash for a while.
I guess many people would screen Prince, not the the
Assassin's
first couple of
Creed
Assassin's Creed games.
3. Sorry,
Mm,
Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and 2.
yeah, Assassin's Creed 4, I think, was the last one people really.
Black
I
Flag.
think, yeah, because they had the ship battles, and I know that was a big thing. I think that was the last game people clamored. But after Assassin's Creed 4, that it's just
It's been
nobody cared after
trash.
that. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, man. I mean, you know, So Ubisoft is like, we need a win with this. We paid out a licensing fee to Lucasfilm in order to use this IP to make a game, and we're gonna get our money.
yeah. That's probably the only reason they. That's probably the biggest reason they, you know, had that exclusivity deal and is selling the game the way it is because LucasArts is like we're. It's like
I mean, I don't know what the split is, but I'm guessing it's probably something like 30-70 or 40-60, where like 40% of every dollar they make has to go to that licensing fee. So
yeah.
clearly, they got to get paid.
I mean, really, the only thing that gives Star Wars any value these days is its history.
Well, the games.
Because its present is just
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, I personally I think it's the games. Cuz
Yeah,
the movies have
yeah,
been trash, but
yeah,
a lot of the games have been pretty good. Like I know
yeah.
people have a fondness for those two Force Unleashed games, which I kind of was thought they were trash, but I know some people really like them. Um, but to each his own.
Yeah.
Any other topics you'd like to bring up? Something you may have wanted to bring up last week but couldn't because stuff happened.
Um, Nintendo shut down the Wii U and 3DS eShops.
Yeah, yeah. Luckily for us, people back that shit up, and I'm guarantee it'll eventually wind up being on somewhere on the internet where you can get access to it again. Some way, shape, or form.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm okay with
exactly.
that. Some people are like, "Oh, that's piracy." No, if they don't make it commercially available and you want to still have access to that content, that is not piracy.
Yeah. So
Piracy
I
is
mean, now you
where
can.
something is still being commercially sold and you're taking money away. You're not paying for it. But if it's not commercially available and you're getting access to it some way, then that's not piracy. That's just like, oh, this is something I wanted to do, and they're not giving me an outlet to get to it. So what am I to do?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, exactly. That's why I wasn't like really, whatever about it, because it's like, it's gonna people are gonna find their way back. So people are gonna find a way back to that stuff. It's not like it's gonna be lost forever.
yeah, yeah. That's where people need to understand something. Like, as long as there's some way to back something up, I'm happy. At least this isn't like those Satellaview games that Nintendo used to have, where like the shit, like some of those games are gone forever because there was no backup for any of it, which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
sad.
yeah. So, I mean, there is some stuff that people were able to reverse engineer, but most of that stuff is probably just lost forever.
Yeah, and like I said, that's sad because it's sad seeing games, games that people will never know about, never play, that are part of the history of these systems, and that we're never going to get to see or be a part of, and
Yeah.
that's some sad shit to me. To me, I know some people are going to be like, "Oh, who cares? That's old shit." These executives say, "Well, who wants to play old games?" A lot of people want to play old games. Retro gaming wouldn't be a thing if people didn't want to play old games.
Yeah.
What it really boils down to is that they don't want you to play old games, so then they can fucking sell you access to old games for exorbitant prices, like Nintendo does with their online, their shitty ass online.
Yeah.
That's what it really is about. It's not like, oh, you don't want to play old games. No, we want you to play old games, but on our terms, not your terms.
Yeah.
Some people get mad when you say that. Like, don't say that. Nintendo is our friend. They would never fuck us over while they're fucking you over. Anyway, that being said, anything else you want to add to your free topic until we move on to the next one?
No, I'm good.
All right. So with that being said, it's time to move on to the final bit, which is unpopular opinion. This is where we basically give a unpopular opinion about something, and people get mad about it, but fuck them.
So here's my unpopular opinion.
All right.
I don't think a total video game crash is gonna happen. What's gonna happen is that the people that were responsible, the people that actually, you know, um, kept their budgets under control and were able to make a modest profit off of their game, um, they're gonna survive. They're still gonna be here. Uh, they're just gonna end up taking the place of the old guard that wasn't responsible, that couldn't keep their budgets under control, that you know weren't smart about how uh, how
Allocated
they
their
released their games,
resources,
allocated their resources. They're just gonna get replaced. So it's not gonna be a crash. It's gonna be
bits and pieces
a
are going to fall
period.
off. They're going
Yeah,
to
it's gonna be
scab
a
over and
process.
fall off.
It's gonna be a process of people just getting replaced. There's a lot of these companies just getting essentially replaced by people who are more responsible.
I hope you're right, but I mean, I. Here's the thing: a lot of these trash ass companies like cockroaches. You think you stomp them out, and they just keep on coming back.
I mean, that's true too. For some reason, they have a way of surviving,
Yeah,
even with the bad press, even when their games don't sell very well. They hold on. Somebody's paying for it. Somebody's footing the bill
yeah.
for these companies to exist.
By hook or crook, they managed to stay. I was like, didn't I kill you? Oh, I'm back, motherfucker. I ain't dead. 2 shots to the head and watch me die. If you don't, then you don't know they're dead. That's basically that's basically how it is right now. Sadly, That's the world
And
we
the best
live
thing,
in with gaming. Um,
and going back to the Star Wars topic, I bet one of the reasons they're selling the game, like they are, is because Skull and Bones was a colossal failure.
yeah, but
So
they
I was
didn't
just
have to take the hit
that.
on that as much because they were getting that was made. The reason it came out in the state it was because it was like basically the Singapore government, which has they were like trying to grow a vibrant kind of gaming community in Singapore,
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
basically the government gave money to those studios to get that game made, and eventually they're like, "Look, y'all got to shit or get off the pot," basically.
yeah.
So, but they didn't have to take the full hit of that game bombing.
Oh, so it wasn't a loan?
Oh no, 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 no! It was tax write offs, and like
Oh.
Singapore kept on writing them tax rebates because Ireland does the same thing. Where if you are a game studio in Ireland, there's like grants that they give, and if you ship like within a certain thing, you don't have to pay that back, or it's like stretched out over a long period of time in Ireland. It's different. Different places do it differently, but I mean, this is something that local states do, where they're like, okay, you're opening a factory in this area. And you're gonna hire X amount of people. Okay, we're gonna prorate. We're gonna suspend the taxes that you have to pay at this location for like 5 years if you hire
Yeah.
these many people, and that
Yeah.
stimulates growth in that community because people are working there. The problem is is that Skull and Bones was trash. It was
Yeah.
hot buttered trash, and there was like it was never going to get any better.
Yeah.
That's the problem with Skull and Bones, is that it was always going to be, you know because the premise wasn't good either.
Yeah.
Because they already did a great prior game. It was called Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, why are you like? Okay, you want to make okay. So basically, like, how are you gonna make a pirate game that doesn't that has less shit going on than a game that came out years ago? Which is what happened with Assassin's Creed, the latest. Which is what happened with what's it called? Black Flag. I mean, with Skull and Bones, is that it literally has less content than Black Flag did,
Yeah.
which is embarrassing. It's literally a step backwards.
Yeah.
But that's my own personal opinion. You have any thoughts?
No, I'm good.
All right. Here's my unpopular opinion, and then we can wrap things up. My unpopular opinion is this: gamers need to start holding these companies to a higher level of accountability. You can't get mad at Sony or Microsoft when they do fucked up shit, and then when Nintendo does it, you're okay. You can't get mad at Nintendo for having a shitty online service, and then when other companies' online is not very good either, or they're having issues, oh well, this is excusable, but not when they do it. Now I understand that everyone has biases. Everyone has biases. Okay, you have to recognize your bias, and then basically train yourself to think differently. It's difficult. It's difficult. It's very difficult to train yourself to think differently when you have unconscious and conscious biases. But it's they call it, you have to learn how to use self-examination.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can't do it. It's very difficult for some people to have self-examination. But you got to do it. You got to have mental, you have to have the mental fortitude and awareness to, like, okay, um what's going on here? Why did this happen? Why did I make that statement? You know, does this did what I do live up to the ideal, to the idealized person I want to be? Now you're never going to reach your ideal, but in striving to reach your ideal of being a well-rounded good person, you know, the struggle within itself will drag you further to that point if you're lucky. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's it. Just don't have a consistent uh, parameter that you judge these companies on. That being said, anything you want to pimp out before we wrap things up, sir?
No, this Project Console should return next week at 7:30 standard Eastern Standard Time. Um, yeah, and also I have a SoundCloud. Name of the SoundCloud is Synaptic Garden. Um, check that out. At least try to put up something every like about 2 or 3 times a week. Um, so
All right,
yeah, that's about it.
that's good for you. This is Mr. Red Fox, owner proprietor of BS Busters. Glad to get back on it. I'm gonna try for the next few weeks, even on vacation, to continue to drop content. Um, so look forward to that. Anyway, that's the end of the cast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. Play your games, and that's it.